we're going to record, and then I'm actually going to pull up what I've been working on today and just kind of give you an idea of where we're at right now. Let me make this a bit bigger. All right, so I've been working on this final document. Thank you so much. Need to change that date. To everybody who's played a part in this, like, well done. Sarah and Laura, your comments, I went through and read them all, removed everything. Fantastic work. Like the flow is phenomenal. We're doing really good. And so I just wanted to let you I'm not going to read every word, but I just wanted to kind of let you know where we're at. We do just have to make the table of contents, and I will send this out to each group and put it on the collaborate page, even though I know people have been having a tricky time getting access to that. But our introduction is completely done, good to go, very, very thorough. I think we're at like, I don't remember how many pages it was. And it's not fluff either. Like this information's really good. All three groups. Very, very impressed there with what we have. I think we have like a 23 page lit read. No, that's just first two. We got let's see, we have basically, hold on, people are coming in the room and I can't multitask, admit all. We're looking at, basically like almost 30 pages of background information that they can use if they're writing a specific grant or want to know a topic better or do education, like tons of good information for them. Thank you, Gladys, for all the extra information you put into there. I don't think she's here right now, but very good. Logic models, we have our introduction. We have the little blurb about the if-then statements. I copied all of your updated logic models with the feedback that Carmen gave us. And then I added all three of the if-then statements from each group. They all look really good. A couple formatting things I could go through. Like I noticed like this looks bold and this isn't. Someone can do that too if you're like, oh, I love doing that kind of stuff or make the format match. But logic model section, good to go. Oops, I need to fix this. I'll highlight this real quick. I took that from another program report, but just need to fix that part. But basically the introduction, and we have all of our evaluation questions from everybody that with the 4 standards about why they're important. All 3 groups did phenomenal on that, made them all their own little sections, so it's easy to follow. And then where we're at right now is chapter 4, which is the data description, which this is a fun part. This is all the stuff that you've been working on, and we can divide it up. We can, have the questions with the answers. I'm getting the vibe a lot of groups have made charts and tables and answered questions that weren't our evaluation questions, right? Because we got a lot of data after we did the evaluation questions, right? Like I was working with the health literacy group over the week, and Emily and Jenny were kind of like, well, so we created our evaluation questions, then we got the data. So like, what do you do? And I said, you answer what you can. What you can't, we have potential evaluation questions that you could answer. This is why we think it's important, and they can collect data on it on their own if they want to. We found surveys, we found a bunch of stuff in our last assignment that we can share with them in the appendices. And then we answer what we can. And then the stuff that we thought was cool, that were helpful, that, we didn't create evaluation questions for, we can just report on that, right? Like it's all going to be okay. This is just our job to share everything that we found for them. And then after that, we can just write some recommendations like that after all this, what are some key takeaways? What are some things that they can do to grow their program? Should they collect, qualitative data on things? Should they be doing this, that, or the other? What did you find from your literature search, from looking through all the data that they have, from just hearing about their program? What are some things that we can think of? And we'll get to that part. And then I'll write the conclusion, and then we have our reference list. And then at the end of the reference list, we'll have our appendices with our health education brochures and flyers or whatever we come up with that we want to create for them. Any extra materials like surveys. I know some of you created like interview guides that they could potentially use with some of your questions. I did not forget about those. We can add those. Some of you created surveys, which were fantastic. I know the health and illness support group has tons and tons of graphs and data. And if we don't want the results section to be crazy, we can just have an appendice with additional data, to share there. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Any comments, questions, thoughts about that part? Well, I'm very impressed. Laura?
I did think it was really interesting when we had the meeting with Carmen. One piece that I hadn't thought about is that their population is so fluid just because
Yes.
of how it shifts and changes year to year. So I think when we were looking at our evaluation questions and our data, it does make, I thought you did a good job of explaining that. It makes it a little different in terms of how you compare things.
Absolutely. And I didn't think of that either, right? Because a lot of times you're like, oh, we could follow this for 4 years, but no, you're coming in when some people are seniors and leaving, and then you get new people in next year. While I'm thinking of it, Tyra, I just saw your face pop up. Emily, did I forwarded you that stuff from that guy with was any of that helpful? I didn't really get to look at it. I didn't know if you guys got a chance to look at it. Was it basically just the survey information that we can pass on?
Yeah,
I
it
did,
was.
yeah, I did. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tyra.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I did look at it and it's been a while since I looked at it, but I'm pretty sure it was just like the survey information.
Tyra, do you agree with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
essentially.
perfect. So what I'm thinking for that is we can, if your group, that could be a task for someone. If you could just go through a lot of it. This guy sent us like 7 documents, so I apologize. I didn't look through them all either. If you could just go through what is the important stuff and in the appendice, just write like a little blurb, like the following part is stuff that can be used for health literacy. And I know there was like copyright laws and all that stuff too. So just make sure Carmen and David are aware of that stuff if they do potentially choose to use that or whatever. But the guy replied back, so I think that could be someone they connect with, which is good. So for
Yeah,
the
I
rest
mean,
of the group, yeah.
a lot of it was like watermarked and like, he was, but I know he said the university owns it, so it's not really like accessible, which we found. So,
Right, right. But that's still good to share with them, right? And they can even still at least see it to get ideas for things too. So isn't that like crazy? Like, I mean, I get that with like the intellectual property, but it's like, but we want to make a difference and use it in other places. So
yeah, it's supposed to be, something that's helpful to the public, but yeah.
yeah, some people are really tricky with their intellectual property. Like for me, like, okay, give me credit for it, but here, I want the better good for people. So yeah, you'll see that. Sometimes people don't like to share, which can sometimes be sad. All right, so while we're talking, what I basically just wanted to do was get some updates from all 3 groups about how it's going. I know the health and illness team, it looks like you submitted something on Canvas already. Thank you for that. But if we could just share where we're going. And one thing that I kind of envision too with the evaluation report is, if you can answer the question with like some nice charts or tables or whatever. And then it's always helpful too to like write a little paragraph explaining what the table's saying, right? Like, oh, this is the highest category, or this is, a shocking statistic from that, or if you're able to run a t-test or something to compare it. And I'm just going to share real quick an Excel document that I've been playing around with for the one team, the health literacy group, so you can just kind of get an understanding for it. And sadly, some of this data isn't the most exciting. We don't have demographics. We don't even have, you know, educate or like status. Like, are they freshmen versus seniors, male versus female? That would have been really, really fun to play around with to see like, oh, the knowledge was higher for males than females or seniors. That's kind of a bummer. That would have been really cool to have, but you got to work with what you have. So this is a document the health literacy team had, and it was only 10 questions. But the first one was talking about, how useful do you feel the internet is in helping you make decisions? And they could score 1 through 5 with, one is, not useful and 5 was extremely useful. So, they can have like a table that says, or, an APA graph or table that says like, usefulness with the internet and making decisions. They can have those 5 categories, report N and percentage. Move on to the next one, which is how important it is to be able to access health resources on the internet. That's kind of its own separate category. But if you see questions that are kind of grouped together, it's fun to compare more so people can see. And the health literacy team and I were talking about, so these were all agreement questions that they had. It was 3 through 10, and it was talking about their agreement with, I know what health resources are available. where to find help, how helpful it is, or I know how to find helpful health resources, use the internet. So these were all health literacy questions. So what could be done is, you make a table and it's like, it would be like agreement level, and then you would have like all these 7 questions, and then you could have them ranked in percentage so they can see like, oh, everyone really scored high in agreement for this one, and this was lowest. And let me just share an example of like what this could look like. So I'm gonna pull up an evaluation report for the past. Okay, so this is a different scale. This was with satisfaction. And we asked, this is a program evaluation report I did. See what I'm explaining here? We wanted to know client satisfaction with the program and their staff. So we kind of broke it up. We wanted to look at their satisfaction with orientation, treatment by staff. Did Harbor prepare you for working? So this is a program that basically mentored and prepared people to go out in the workforce. Were you matched up with a job based on your actual skills or abilities? Or were you somewhere, you hate animals and they put you at a pet store, right? So see how everything's grouped up here. And then what we did was we, added the percentages of satisfied and very satisfied, and then the very dissatisfied and dissatisfied. And, we were like, the highest satisfaction was with, let's see, I don't remember, table 5. I think we have the text up here. So we'd go up to table 5. And the highest satisfaction right there was with Harbor staff, 91.2% satisfaction. And then it was 88.3% satisfaction with job coach. And then the lowest was how well Harbor prepared the clients. Only we can see right here that 20% were dissatisfied. So 1 out of 5 people were dissatisfied with their preparation, right? So, that's just kind of an example of how you can write text up just from this was just basic frequencies and tables, which they found very helpful. Like, oh wow, we didn't realize that 20% of people did not feel prepared for their job. So that's the one thing that I'll just share with everybody, like a easy one that I put together with Jenny for hers. I'm sorry if I'm boring you all to death. Hopefully you find this helpful. But this was just a level of agreement. I feel supported making decisions that protect my health. I know we're on or near campus to get vaccinated, and I know how to assess campus resources. So, that's something that they'll fill in. And this was a knowledge table about, students should get vaccinated, share vapes with friends, right? You hopefully that they'll answer all these correctly. And then we were talking about running a test to see, what was the highest score? Did most people get all of them correct? What question did students score the highest on, the lowest on? Things like that. So that's kind of just some fun stuff we can play around with in the results. I know you all are doing it very differently, but that's just one example of how you could report it if you're like, I ran all these frequencies, but I don't know what to do with it. And there, you can play around with it other fun ways. Let me see if this is very pretty. This is like an like you could make pretty tables. Like if you have yearly comparison data and you're like, this one would be good for the health and illness support group. I know Desiree and Matri and your team has like some data from like 2022, 2023, 2024. You could even have a table. This might be fun, and it's like symptoms. And then you list like coughing, strep throat, whatever it is, and then you have the year and you have the percentage of the symptoms. That would be kind of cool to see that, or days missed, or whatever stuff was in the data too. So hopefully that wasn't overwhelming, but just kind of nice to see different ways you can report it in evaluation reports. All right. Any questions before I have each group share anything? All right. Any group want to go first, or want me to just randomly point?
I think our group was Emily was doing the eHills data work.
Yes.
And then Jenny started on the comprehensive learning outcomes data. So we're really just trying to clean that data, work through that, see what we have come back, and then kind of go from there. So yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know if it to add anything, but
yeah. Either one. Go ahead, Emily.
I'll just I have like cleaned the data and everything, which I know we talked about that yesterday, but so I'm just working on like the chart basically that you shared, like talking about the frequencies and the percentages and making like a composite score for the level of agreement. So
Yeah. That's one thing Emily was doing. Then I'll get to Jenny. So as I showed you, there were 7 or 6 questions that were all agreement. So she was coming up with a composite score to see, like what the range is, what their level of agreement, and to see, which was the highest, lowest, things like that. So I think that'll be something fun. I appreciate the creativity you all have, especially if you were in biostats a few semesters ago and you're like, I don't remember what to do. Yeah, that's me too. I'm like, I think I took biostats in 2014. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm a little rusty on it too, everybody. I get it.
And she
So
came through with the data. Carmen came through with the data because we really had nothing to go off of because we didn't have the same that like the vaccines group had and things like that. So when Carmen sent that, it was like, oh yay, we have something we can actually try and answer these evaluation questions because it was hard.
yeah, I think it was very cool what they did provide. So thank you for your group on that. Jenny, did you have anything to share?
I was just gonna add that I did the reverse coding thing we talked about yesterday. Um, deleted all the ones that were just nothing for all the questions. Went from like 218, I think, down to 138 for the total responses of completed things. And then worked on the labels, what it was, and then um, I did 0 and 1 for like the part 4 and 5 questions, since they did like if they selected it was 1, if they didn't it was 0.
Perfect.
I think I had it on the Word document, which you just put up was correct versus incorrect. And I was gonna try to do like analysis on that as well to do charts, say how many did they get correct out of all these questions.
Perfect. Yeah. And one thing that the other group members in that team could do, once they have those tables filled in, someone can look at it too to get a different perspective. And I can give you like sample text paragraphs, to fill in, about like what you got from that. But yeah, I think your group's doing really good. Emily, I was a little nervous. I think it was like 2, 3 weeks ago when you're like, we don't have anything. And I'm like, oh shoot, you're right. So really glad that came through. And like what I said earlier, some of the stuff you're answering might not even be really that helpful for some of the evaluation questions. That's fine. Report on what you had, what the takeaways are that you found. Jenny, let's just give her a round of applause. She had to do so much for her spreadsheet. Like one, it was like coded as 1, but the numeric value was 5, and like all that reverse coding that you're probably like, why do I ever have to do this? You do sometimes because they have their scale going from strongly agree to strongly disagree. But remember, when we come up with that composite score and ranges, we want, 5 agreement to be 5 and 1, no agreement or not much agreement, whatever it is, 1. So we want that correct. So she had reverse code. They had like select all, but it was like 1 in a column and blanks, 2 in a column blanks. And so she had to recode everything for 1, yes, 0, no. Missing data code is 99. So I really appreciate your effort for that, Jenny. You did a really good job. So we can all email Dr. Perrin right now and be like, thanks for everything you taught us in biostats. You're the best. Because sometimes she gets sad. She's like, everybody hates my class because it's hard. And I'm like, no. Yeah, she's a great professor for that. I wish I had her for biostats when I took it. So, all right, thank you, Health Literacy Group. I appreciate your updates for that, and just keep me in the loop and send me emails if you have anything. All right, vaccine group or sure.
I
Yeah,
can go vaccine group. So mentally, I've been MIA with my group. So I know that Laura and I think it was Elise that has been working on the data. They were a little panicky, spoke with you, and Carmen, I almost called her Cayman, Carmen, and I'm sure they have better updates to give than I do. But was looking at our work for this week, and then I saw the assignments due for next week or whenever they're due for the health education materials. So I did volunteer myself for tribute on that because I like doing that sort of stuff.
Yes.
But again, Laura and Elise probably have better updates than I do, so they can take it away.
No problem. Thanks, Amanda. So we're not panicky, but we are a little all over the map. And I will sing the praises of Dr. Perrion and my group. But so Gladys, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is in Cuba. Gladys, and I don't remember, I think it was Sarah and Jessica and some others did like an amazing job with, we actually have qualitative data. And they did a really cool write-up with identifying themes and everything. So very excited about that. And as far as the quantitative data, I had a moment of, okay, I'm going to go look at what we've got and start cleaning it while we figure out what we're doing. And then realized that there just was a lot of data that we did not have that we thought we had. And it's really hard to clean data if you don't know what you're doing, but or as far as where we're at. But Carmen did come through, and Dr. Watering helped Elise and I, and we came up, and Brandy chimed in with some ideas. So what we have at this point, Carmen was amazing. I'm sure she had it somewhere, but she just rattled off this figure of this is how many flu vaccines were given in this year. And I went through the data she sent with each vaccine and totaled it up. And yeah, she was completely 100% correct. I mean, I'm sure she pulled it from somewhere else, but it was just really funny because as I'm going through by day and totaling it, I'm like, that's exactly the same number. So what we have for quantitative data right now is Brandy had the suggestion. We did the total number of vaccines given during 22-23 and 23-24, and we went with the total UTK enrollment and calculated what percentage of students were vaccinated.
Oh, cool.
So we have that to compare for year to year.
Great.
Then we also have the surveys that were done year to year on kind of vaccine attitudes. Attitudes towards vaccines as a whole and flu vaccines. And it was one done in 23 and one done in 24. And that's where it's a really interesting biostats flashback. So I really need my group for this because here's where Elisa had. We got it in Excel. Attempted to format it some in Excel, imported it into SPSS, which for those who are taking EPI2 with me, SPSS is so wonderful compared to SAS. Oh God, I've missed it. But we got it imported into SPSS. So I did the 2023 and did basically frequency. We identified some of the questions that we thought best captured vaccine attitudes and then specifically flu vaccine attitudes. I cleaned the data in terms of taking out the ones that didn't have responses, still running into some formatting issues. And I think Elise said she would got held up logging on for class, but I frantically texted her and I'm like, I think we need a code book. And she's like, do you remember how to do a code book? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. We'll see if we need a code book. So just because it was like in Excel, it was one of those things where you have question one, but then one of the rows has the question and trying to change the name, and that turned into a mess. But we do have frequencies for each year in terms of responses to the flu vaccine survey. One of the other things Brandy suggested, because one of our evaluation questions has to do with funding, and Carmen was pretty clear on that. She's like, I cannot, because it's, federal and state funding, I cannot share that information. So I think that's something we can include as a recommendation. Obviously internally, they can compare funding sources and whether they have enough funding. The other thing we have is data for the satellite clinics, and that I think will be something else in terms of recommendations. We have the total number of clinics that were held each school year, but it did not include, some of it had, in some of the cells, they had responses of how many attendees, but it was like a range, like 50 to 100. So I think that might have been more what was projected. So right now for data, I just did a chart showing number of satellite clinics in this year, number of satellite clinics in, in this year. And that would be another recommendation, is maybe to, and Carmen said in her email, she could not find data on how many vaccines were given at pop-ups or satellites versus how many were given in the health center. That might be something else to look at as a recommendation. But we did end up with data. I just will need help from my group making sure it looks pretty. And any recommendations from you in terms of how we can present it. So
Absolutely. Yep. I'll gladly look over all that stuff and give feedback for that. So thank you. There's been so much that we had to tackle. Like last semester, it was just all 20 of the students doing one project together. And I feel like we did 3 different projects all in one semester, and very impressive work. I hope you guys aren't all this tired just from my class, but it has been a lot. But I think it's really going to be so beneficial for them. And I hope you all learned a lot too, to how you can tackle a huge thing like that and break it apart. So thank you. Anyone else from the vaccine group? Okay, last group. Health and illness support.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Sorry, I'm in the car. But let me update you. So our group, me and Matry, you know that we did the first part of the data
Yes.
evaluation thing. And I guess if we're just waiting on everybody to tackle their assignments, everybody is tackling each evaluation question in our results section. So everybody was already assigned which question they're supposed to tackle and which data they're supposed to go look for. So now that's all we're doing. That's updates. Unless anybody else has something to say.
Yep, so it's Desiree, did I hear you correctly? All the data is ran, and you guys just need to take it all and answer each evaluation question and write it up. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Anyone else want to add any updates for that?
I don't have an update. I just have a comment about like when you're looking at the data.
Yes.
So if you're doing like a Likert scale, so like when you were looking at the satisfaction levels in the report that you were showing,
Yes.
like it can be tricky. So if you're reporting like the dissatisfaction, so the things that are at the lower part of the scale, if you're talking about like the lowest rate of satisfaction, you have to go to the ones and then it's going to be the highest number of the ones. So it's kind of like the inverse when you're trying to
Correct.
find like it's like the greatest level of dissatisfaction. So it's like the one that has the highest number. So it can be like tricky to like make sure that you're looking at the right information.
Absolutely too. And like what you said, Kristen, like so say if there were 5 questions and the range is 1 to 5, right? So someone, if you like individually looked at people's scores and like computed it and added it, the score of agreement can range anywhere from 5 to 25, right? And so then you could like I'm sorry, I'm not a stats person. I'm probably gonna, you guys can all make fun of me, but like you can like find the mean score, like the average agreement score was 19 in a range from 5 to 25, and the lowest level of agreement was in this question, and the highest level of agreement was in that. And that's some things that you can write about and do as well. Does that help? Okay, perfect. Cool. All right. So for the health education materials, that's not due for the following week. Don't panic, some of your groups, I know you have a lot to do. If you don't get all your stuff, would it be helpful to have a little bit more time to work on this assignment? If so, just let me know, reach out to your group. I know some of you have. I can push back the dates because honestly, like we're doing really good. Let me pull up a calendar here. So what's kind of nice is we have that like week off of Thanksgiving. I know no one wants to just spend their whole week doing the valuation report, but it's kind of nice because so we're at September 7th. If we could all maybe just by the 14th have or honestly, don't like push it back and don't do anything, but if we could have the results, if you guys can do a really good job on it, and like contact me like throughout next week if you need help, and we can get it finalized and like to where they're just good copy and paste into the document. You could have till the 17th for that. And then for the health education materials, I really don't care that much. Like, we're just going to copy that in the appendices, right? So we can move the health education brochure stuff till the 24th. And then during that week, I know it's Thanksgiving, that can just be, getting the slides ready if each group wants to, because we don't present till the 5th. So honestly, what I just see, these are some things that your group can work on in the next time. Finishing that assignment, creating health education materials for whatever you think would be helpful, however you all want to do that. Jotting down recommendations of things that you can do. And then when we do the final presentation, basically we're going to share all the results. We don't need to share the background again or what our evaluation questions are. Like, we're going to be like, this is what we found. Here's our recommendations. Here's a few health education materials that we thought were really cool and our favorites. And then we're going to email you the document. Which the cool thing is our semester doesn't end till like like December 13th or something like that, maybe December 12th, I don't know. And we present the 5th. So then we have that whole week to finalize the report and send it to them. I don't plan on sending them the report on the 5th. I plan on doing the presentation with them, getting any feedback. We can all, make those tweaks and then get it to them before the semester is over. How's that sound? Less scary, because I know we did just get the data and that's really unfair for that. But in the meantime, some things you can divvy up for your groups, things that you did in the last assignment, like if you had, like Emily, your group, like with the surveys, or if you created an interview guide or things like that, like jot down all that stuff so we don't forget something that we created that could go in an appendix or somewhere there. And I can email the document out to whatever groups if one group wants, is like, oh, we're in a pretty good spot, I want to start adding stuff, or just make your own results document, combine everything, submit it to me, and I can move it in the document. So I think that should be good there. Go ahead, Laura.
No, I think that sounds good. I think we're in much better shape than I thought we were on Monday when we got the data, but I feel like this gives us time, like during the breakout today, to divide everything that's left, to have everybody look at it and then pull it back together. One question I had, just to confirm, so and you may be getting ready to talk about it, before the health education assignment, is that an individual assignment? Or is that a group, or do you not care, or what?
First of all, you all have been so wonderful. And like, I know how exhausting this class is, and I can barely keep my brain wrapped around it. And for you all to be like doing this for the first time as a class, like, I applaud your efforts. If you want to just make it, I don't want it to all fall on someone, but there's so much we still have to do, like not in a scary way. Like, if we have a month to do it, but if you all just want to delegate fairly, like Amanda's like, I really enjoy making this, and maybe like Megan's like, I really enjoy this too. Let's make it a group, if that's fair with everybody, and let's try to maybe make at least a few per group. So if that's cool with you guys, like maybe just 1 or 2 or even 3, whatever, per group, because we really don't need 20 things. Let's make 2 or 3 really good. And then people can even team up. Someone can come up with ideas, someone can create it, and then is that okay with you guys? And or you can even like split it up, like say some people really like the health education materials, and someone's like, I really want to write the recommendations. Like, I was in the data, like I like doing that. And so if you just divide it up fairly, and if I'm going to give you the rest of the time, if you could come up with that, because I don't want it to all drop on somebody. And then I don't want someone to miss out on opportunities to do things. But I will be honest, you did health education materials in 552 with me. So I know that you're all very capable of doing that. So if you could just in your group come up with a plan, and before you go, could you just, or sometime this week, probably before you go, so you don't forget, if you could just email me like who's doing what, that would be great for me. So I know who to contact as well. And Jaya, you were going to make the final presentation as well, correct? So she did a fantastic job last time. So just keep that stuff in mind, and think that's fair. Yeah, so a couple per group should be good. But is everything going okay besides that? No, there's a lot. Quick question while I have you, and then I'll put you into groups. what's your thought on how this semester was? Do you think that you enjoyed the chaos and you learned, or do you think it would be better for me to maybe just have like a canned class where there's just specific data that people have in the no, okay. Sarah, what do you think?
No, I liked actually having a program. I liked being able to work as a group on the information and being able to collaborate. Like that to me was really helpful. So I really like the way this class has been orchestrated.
Okay, Laura, you think the chaos was realistic? Anyone disagree? Or like this class sucked? Jenny, I can always count on Jenny. Jenny, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna say a little bit of both. I love having actual real data, but it's just like I was with like the data analysis part, I was complaining, like, how is the what's it called? The research methods class that most people
Yeah,
are doing at the same time, that's considered a concentration class and not a core class.
correct.
And I'm like, I think that'd be more helpful as a core class, at least for me who I forgot all the bias stats.
Completely agree, Jenny. No, I
Is that
completely agree.
Yeah,
Research methods. Go ahead, Karen.
I was
Karen.
gonna say I'm taking research methods, but I don't necessarily have to, but because I'm a HPM, but the my advisor had told me about another like HPM concentration that they had just started this semester, and I was already kind of like hell bent on wanting to take research methods because I find it like useful for all concentrations. But I think I'm the only HPM. Maybe there's one other person in my class. So like I will say it's not common, I don't think among other concentrations, but yeah. And then I also wanted to add, so I like this class. I don't think it sucks or anything. I think the group work is like it's both helpful, but it's also like kind of hard to have a group for an entire semester. I think
Oh
it's like
yeah.
everybody's on different schedules.
Mhm.
Like the work this week, like I didn't, you know, I didn't feel like I contributed much to the data preparation, and so that kind of made me feel sad. But I'm glad you're giving us more time to this week because now I actually can sit down with my group in a few minutes and kind of talk about what we're doing and how we're moving because we had the day off last week. So yeah, I will just say that. It's just like a semester long group project is very, very hard, but I know why we're doing it this way. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because last semester you guys are gonna be like, why didn't I take this last semester? So there was just like one area to focus on. So you only had to work with the group on one topic. Everyone did their individual assignment, and there was background group, there was evaluation question group, there was this and that, and like so you only had to work with your group to like do the background and synthesize everyone's stuff. And then the next group did all the logic models, and the next group did all this, and so yeah, but I will say you, I'm sure, learned a heck of a lot more than they did just based off all the work you had to do because you had to do a group project for 6 different things, not just one. Um, so
I also want to say I appreciate the flexibility in doing like the individual assignments as groups and being able to extend the time periods that we have to turn stuff in. Like that to me has changed because I feel like if it was very structured, very rigid, very harsh on how you have to do this, it would be a lot more difficult. But giving us the ability to kind of be flexible with things has been very useful for I think at least my group. I think it's been very useful for us.
thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I realize you all are very strong students, and it's not a delay in your work because you're lazy by any means. It's because there's so much to do. And like you all mentioned, like Tara, like collaborating with a group all semester can be so tricky. And then new data comes in 2 weeks ago, right? So it's definitely a lot. So I appreciate your work because I was just like this happens like every I've only taught it 2 semesters. No worries, you're late. Thanks for attending. I was recording this, but one thing like because I was like, do I just like use the data we have or maybe make stuff up or use past data I have? And my husband's like, well, that would be a lot easier. But I'm like, But then it's just such a waste, right? Like we're analyzing fake stuff and we really could be helping someone. And so I'm glad to see that you all appreciate it because I'm like, we have 20 heads together to actually do something good and do a real evaluation report. So, all right, thank you. I ask this every semester. Last semester I asked, and they're like, well, keep doing it. I'm like, okay. So I'll keep doing it until people tell me to stop. So if anyone does know a nonprofit or anybody who maybe has data that they collected that's just sitting there, please reach out to me. Or if you know a nonprofit that you're really passionate about or volunteer, just send me their name. That would be a great help to me. I was reaching out in some Facebook groups and doing some cold calls, and I have about 2 people who replied back to me. But if there's someone you personally have a relationship with, that would trump any of that. So all right.
That's what I was gonna say too. Like, it's really good networking. Like, I'm sure you've had a lot of people like get Apex opportunities out of this class.
Absolutely. Yeah, like Laurel's working with them right now. When Helping Mamas, they had someone go there too. And it's just really cool, especially with a lot of things being, in the virtual world as well. So last thing before I have you in groups, I know that there's yeah, completely agree. Completely agree with the more upfront data. That's like one thing that I would love to have is if I can partner with someone who already has it, it's just sitting there so we can look at it and spend time to make the evaluation question. So let me put you in groups. I know you guys don't want to be here all night. Do you still want to meet next week? Because I know we have another week. Do you want me to put breakout rooms? Do you want to do your own thing? Do you need time to work? What are your thoughts on that?
Are we just doing the evaluations uh from the data and then the health education material? And is there anything else we're adding to the paper or?
Nope, that's yeah. So you'll have the one that's just, the results and, your blurb about it. And then you will have the health education materials and the following week after that.
Okay. Well, I'm cool with no class next week. I don't know anybody about anybody else.
Okay. All right. Well, what I can do is I can just host breakout rooms or groups can meet together, whatever you guys think. I can just host breakout rooms still too, and I will be there in case you want to share some of your stuff because I know, for example, one of the groups wanted to share with me where they were at. And apologize, we won't have time to do that, but we can do that next week if you want. If your group doesn't really need to meet or prefers to meet another time, that's fine as well. But I'll be here next week just for support for groups that need it. So, all right, let me open the rooms. I think you should see them all, hopefully. All right, well, I'm going to stop recording. Thanks, everyone, and reach out with any questions at any time.